Welcome to the Heart of the Matter podcast. I'm Junon. We're here at Insperity, and we're also sponsored by Coast News Group.
I'm Susan Billings, and today we're here with Chris Waker, and we're so excited to talk to you, Chris. You came into the group. I don't know, how did you come into the group? Who brought you in?
My roommate actually brought me there. He used to work at Market Space and was like, hey man, I was at Market Space and this great community networking, non-networking group was like in here and a bunch of amazing people. So yeah, he brought me in and found this your amazing community.
Oh,
that's great. We're blessed to have you. Just out of curiosity.
Amazing community.
Amazing, yeah. Coming to the group, what was your first impression of the group?
Yeah, so I think it was super amazing how, in my position, I love connecting with people and just learning about other people's stories. Yeah. So I've been to some like Chamber of Commerce, like networking groups where it's like, hey, I'm doing this and buy this or whatever. It's kind of like really sales pitchy, and it was cool just how you guys have this community of people coming together, and it's just people supporting each other and in a way that's not like, oh, what event do you have going on this week? How can I support you? Mm-hmm. And I think that's a great aspect of it. And you guys start by just going around and everyone just introducing each other and telling a little bit about what they got going on.
Yeah.
And then you guys do like little like break-offs, little 5-minute bits where people can go deeper into their stories and stuff. Yeah. Which was super cool. So
I remember when your friend came, he was talking about wanting to start public speaking.
Right.
And it was so awesome how many people were joining in on how to help him in that public speaking forum, like what kind of things to build that confidence and the how-tos behind business. I think that's maybe what sets us apart.
And the next thing you know, I mean, he was talking for quite a bit, and we're like, you're doing it now. And he was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a safe place, really.
Yeah.
The group is.
And I'm curious if he actually wants to do public speaking or if that's because he was speaking on behalf of me.
I know. I wonder that too, because that's what you do.
Because he's going to nursing school. Right? I don't think. He's great at like talking to people, but I don't think. Maybe one day
he's like, Chris, are you listening to all this advice?
Yeah. That's like his little getting some intel for me. Yeah.
Okay, so about public speaking, tell us about have you been speaking already? I mean, you have an incredible story. So how are you getting your story out there?
It's all been word of mouth. So far, it was kind of a crazy journey. We'll all start by just saying like, so I broke my neck, snowboarding, and just trying to find a different passion, a different transition into like a purpose, I guess you could say. I was in a long relationship, 2-year marriage, 10-year relationship. And that kind of ended after a year after my accident, unfortunately. Gosh. And so I was kind of lost for a little bit. I was like doing these I connected with a lot of people in the hospital, just like learning about their stories and trying to, like the inner coach out of me was trying to like help them as well. So I figured, I was like, you know what, this might be like a great avenue, something to pursue. And after my ex left, I was kind of lost. I did a couple like public speaking classes, I guess, and then just lost all motivation for a little bit. And I was speaking to my mental health therapist, like, I'm so lost, like I lost all my motivation, I don't know what to do. And she's like, talk to my my sister-in-law, and I got connected with this amazing lady. I told her my story, and she was like, how about you do a keynote speech in front of 140 women in 2 months? And I was like, okay, how long is the keynote have to be? She's like, an hour. I'm like, I can barely talk for 15 minutes. I don't know if I could do that. So, but she was just super great. One of her friends joined. So her name's Jamie and her friend Chad. They helped me. They were on Zoom calls with me every week for like 2 months.
Coaching you?
Really?
Yeah, and just not really like, coaching me for sure, but just supporting me and just, helping me get like a slide deck together. And, I would just write down like my whole memories of being in the hospital and being a coach, being an athlete. And they just kind of helped me piece it together, which was great. And they're just such a great support group. And I'm so grateful to have those guys. And from there, just kind of spiraled, spoke to some sports teams and So that was a beauty. The first one was a beauty esthetician company.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Really?
so it was 140 women. I don't think I can
Wow.
speak to a better
Yeah.
audience than
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, you're like,
Yeah.
this will
Like,
encourage
all right,
me.
let's
Yeah.
go.
Just
Sweet.
sit up here and
Yeah.
have this as my view.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's amazing. Well, so I mean, you kind of skipped it. I mean, you broke your neck. What was the story behind it? I mean, you were saying, like, what happened? I know you were a high-level athlete in the past, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I grew up snowboarding. I grew up in Vermont on the East Coast originally, which is like one of the snowboarding kind of meccas. It's where like Burton Snowboards was created, and the U.S. Open Snowboarding Championships was pretty much in my hometown. So I grew up around it, and it was a really big passion of mine growing up. I went to a winter sports academy that had athletes from Nordic skiing, alpine skiing,
Oh, wow.
and snowboarding. And it's a very prestigious school. It was like, a bunch of the alumni were on national teams, Olympic teams.
Wow.
A few of them won Olympic medals.
Wow.
So it was awesome to just kind of dedicate my life to a passion. And yeah, started doing World Cups on the professional
Really?
circuit when I was 17.
Did you pick it up kind of naturally? Were you just kind of...
Yes and no.
Okay.
For sure. Like I think the passion came from that natural progression of just like, yeah, I picked it up pretty quick.
Yeah.
But once I went to Stratton Mountain School, I was like, wow, I'm way behind everyone else. I had won some local events, but these guys that I was joining, they were already on the
Around the world.
yeah,
Yeah.
getting all these sponsors and getting paid. But it really showed me, or I guess it kind of taught me how I had to just really grind and
Right.
put in a lot of effort. I was always tried to be the last one in the gym, and my dad helped me teach me how to weld, fabricate snowboard rails, like little snowboard features.
Oh,
So we had a backyard set up
that's so
in my
cool.
backyard, and
Wow.
So your parents were supportive.
Yeah.
of
very
you going this
supportive.
route. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, very blessed to have, and like not like overly supportive with the parents. Sometimes you'll see those
Pushing.
soccer dads or moms that are like, "Come on, you gotta go to the Olympics."
Yeah,
No, it's
yeah.
just they were just like, "Let's have fun." Like,
Yeah, that's awesome.
and that was kind of like the whole, my whole life was just like, you know what, just have fun, do
Yeah.
it. And
That's
they
awesome.
were like, "Where are you going? You're going to New Zealand? Oh, sweet! Like
Oh my
that sounds
gosh,
great.
that's
Like
Wow.
have fun."
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would. Part of me sometimes wishes that they pushed me a little bit more, but I feel like that I could have lost the passion if it was
Yeah.
Sure.
driven down my neck too much.
Yeah.
Right.
It came from within. I loved the sport. I loved
Right.
the community
Yeah,
and the friends
awesome.
and traveling the world. And
Right.
I learned so much from just so many diverse cultures. And
So you did a lot in a short amount. I mean, what most people do after they graduate, from college or things, you did a lot
Young
in those
age.
high school years,
Right.
which, not knowing obviously what your future would hold, it's kind of awesome that you got to have the experiences you had.
yeah,
Well, even
prior.
the skill of being a welder. I mean, that's
right.
Yeah, that's
that's
pretty
pretty
cool.
amazing.
Yeah. I know my dad was like a jack of all trades. He was like a logger,
Wow.
plumber. He started a plumbing business. So I worked for him, and I was always a laborious worker. So I was just always doing stuff
That's
with my
really
hands.
Yeah.
But yeah, so definitely snowboarding taught me how to grow up quick.
Yeah.
It was like traveling on your own, and sometimes we would have a coach, but it's just like you didn't have mom and dad to
Yeah.
take care of you,
Right.
and so you figured out a lot pretty quick.
So 17 was when your accident happened? Is that what you
No,
said?
no. So that's
Oh,
when
okay,
I first
okay.
started competing
Oh,
professionally.
that's when you first started competing.
Yeah.
Okay, so then how old were you when your accident happened?
That was 3.5 years ago. So I was
Okay.
30, 31.
Okay.
Wow.
31, 32 actually.
So where
So
were
y-
you?
yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, so I was so at this point in my career, I transitioned out of professional, competing professionally, and I transitioned into coaching.
Oh, okay.
So I was a snowboard coach, started a program in Colorado,
Wow.
and coached amazing athletes, and
Really? That's
yeah.
awesome.
which was great. It was a great transition. Got to
Right.
go from like traveling the world competing to traveling the world working with these amazing athletes.
Coaching,
So
right.
yeah,
That's
such an
awesome.
amazing
Wow.
opportunity. But yeah, so I was it was Christmas Eve, December 24th, 2020, and
Wow.
Christmas Eve. Wow.
Christmas Eve, Merry Christmas.
Wow.
Yeah, super heavy. But yeah, it was just up at one of the resorts with an athlete that I'd been working with at the time, and we were heading out of the terrain park after doing all the crazy stuff, of course, like flying through the air, 60-foot jumps, and
Wow.
sliding down these metal handrails. I was headed out of the park, saw a little like rolling hill in the terrain, went to go jump over it, like a little maneuver, something I've done thousands of times
Right.
before. Just super high speed, let my board down, caught an edge, boom, slammed my neck into the ground, and broke my C5, C6 vertebrae in my neck. So yeah, the vertebrae goes from like cervical sea level
Right.
down to about your chest is where the cervical ends, and then it goes to thoracic, and then TL, and then your S level
Wow.
vertebrae. So I broke the C5. It was what crushed up against my spinal cord, and that's what blocked the signals being sent from your brain to the rest of your body.
Do you remember that? I mean, a lot of people go into shock, so they really can't remember that day or even the event. Do you?
Very vividly,
Do you?
actually,
You
yeah.
do?
Until like after, like everything got a little hazy once I got kind of the medication drugged up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I definitely remember very vividly of, laying face down in the snow, just being like, "Wow, that was a good hit! Like that one hurt." And then I tried moving, and then instantly I knew something was up, and my wrists were kind of like flopping because since I'm a quadriplegic, I was instantly paralyzed from the chest down, neck down, and so my fingers couldn't work, and my wrists, I can't curl my wrists up anymore. So I went to go move my arms, and my wrists were kind of flopping.
Flopping.
Wow.
And I'm like, I initially thought I broke both my wrists.
Oh.
And I was like, oh damn, that was a good one. I broke both wrists.
Yeah.
Crazy. And then it wasn't until I asked my buddy to grab onto my leg, and then I realized I couldn't feel my legs. And
So face down, how did you, like you could move from here, is that right?
yeah,
Did your
yeah.
buddy
Lift
turn you
up
over
your
there?
head and
So
speak.
no, well, once I knew I was paralyzed, I was like, don't touch me.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Uh-huh.
you don't want to
Yeah.
make
Make it
do
worse.
any worse
Yeah.
damage. So I said, call ski patrol and get help. They know how to deal with these types of injuries.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I mean, I initially face down. Once I knew I was paralyzed, I thought my life was over. I screamed out, like saw everything that gave my life like joy and happiness and meaning, walking and snowboarding, coaching, dirt biking, mountain biking, all the fun things I've done throughout my life. I just saw it all ripped away, and I literally thought my life was over.
Yeah.
And that was terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they transported you. Did you go into immediate surgery? What happens after that?
Yeah, so ski patrol took me down to the bottom, then to the helicopter pad. Luckily, that helicopter pad on the resort. So flight for life down to Denver, which was a 45-minute
Oh wow, that's a long
helicopter
time.
ride.
Wow.
And then it was Christmas Eve, so the surgeon that was on call was already in surgery when I got there. So I waited till about 3 a.m. Before my first surgery. And then I think it was a 6 to 8 hour surgery was the first one to decompress. They pretty much took both my C5 and C6 vertebrae out to decompress the spine in hopes that I would regain some movement.
Were your parents?
Did you?
I did, yeah, for sure. Like when I was first in the hospital, the doctor said I could kind of just barely shrug my shoulders, and I had like a little bit of bicep kind of flicker movements.
That's so nice.
Yeah, so once I got out, I had definitely some more strength.
Yeah, but were
For
your
sure.
parents in town at that time since it was
No.
Christmas Eve? They weren't? Okay.
No, yeah.
Oh, that would be
And-
Them to hear.
Yeah, so they were in Vermont at the time, and
wow.
yeah, that was like when I think about it, that's when I get most emotional. It's like thinking about the impact that I had to my family, and getting that call as a mom, being like,
Yeah.
your son's in the hospital, or my ex too, even just having thinking about that call, like pack your bag, don't know if he's okay or not, just go to the hospital.
Jeez.
I remember we were we were supposed to have like cheese fondue and dinner and like
yeah.
had it all planned out and stuff. So yeah, it's definitely
Amazing the
yeah,
change in life that can
Yeah.
happen in a minute.
Just
so
one
quick.
little incident. Wow,
Yeah.
that's becomes a
Wow.
big incident. So then, afterwards, I mean, had the have you? I'm sure the doctor spoke to you, but was there a chance of recovery at the time, potential for the surgery, or was it kind of
Yeah,
low
so
percentage?
well, they never said I couldn't walk. I wasn't going to walk again, which was, I think, for my benefit, because some people get told like, yeah,
Yeah.
you're probably not going to walk again.
Mm.
And I think I knew that was a possibility, but my community didn't really let that like
Mm.
kind of happen. Like they were just like, you got this, you know, like if anyone can do it, you can. And you know, my community just provided me with so much support and inspirational videos, and my athletes started GoFundMe's, and just
Mm.
it was just it got me fired up. I was
Sure.
like, damn right, I'm gonna prove these doctors wrong. I'm gonna,
Right.
you know, walk out of here. And so my injury was an incomplete injury. So there's complete injuries and incomplete. So a complete is when you sever the spinal cord.
Mhm.
There's no feeling or sensation or movement below your level of injury. I already had some sensation below my level of injuries. Like I could feel my feet and my arms. So I was like, oh, I had no idea, but I was like, all right, sweet, I can feel it. I'm gonna get it back, right?
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I thought. That's what my hopes and goals were. But yeah, as that was like my long-term goal, but it started off by just the smallest things.
Mhm.
You know, I was in the ICU for 2 weeks, like yeah, 2 weeks, and
Wow.
I just had a crazy fever that they couldn't let me out in.
Oh.
But once I got accepted to Craig Hospital, which is like the recovery hospital in Denver, uh, you know, it was just the smallest things was, you know, just
The biggest achievement.
yeah,
Sure.
just moving my arms for the first time, being able to feed myself for the first time, getting out of the hospital bed. Just I had to pretty much relearn how to do everything, and
Right.
there's so much more than just being in a wheelchair and not being able to walk that a lot of people don't know about for spinal cord injuries. You know, you have to relearn how to pee and poop, like deal with your
Right.
manage your bowels, bladders.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nerve pain that people have to deal with, muscle spasticity. You know, your muscles
Wow.
just like shaking involuntarily
Yeah.
that can throw you out of your wheelchair sometimes. Luckily, I don't have to deal with that stuff as bad as some people. But it's like initially, you know, I did have nerve pain, muscle spasticity, and all of this stuff. So it's crazy how much stuff. It's just kind of information overload at the beginning.
Sure.
You're just,
Yeah.
I'm
you know.
sure it's so surreal. And
Right.
so, did you hit one of my best friends was in an accident, and she was saying that the best thing when she was in the hospital, you know, everybody was coming in and trying to encourage her and everything. And then one church leader came in to sit by her, and he's all, let's just yell out the word, whatever you feel right now. Just tell me what you want me to yell, and we'll yell it at the same time. And it was just like full profanity, screaming, yelling, you know, and here's this church pastor that's sitting there with her, doing that with her. And she's like, that's what I remember, because I had so much, you know, frustration and anger and all the feelings that you want to feel. Everybody's trying to come in and be supportive and buoy you
And you're
up.
trying to be strong for
But
them.
you're
but
thinking,
yeah.
I just had everything taken from me, and there's all the emotions that go with it.
Yeah.
What helps the most when you know, for people going through trials, what's the greatest support that you remember or had at that time that you're like, that was a game changer for me?
I mean, so I had like these idols growing up, these like professional skateboarder, professional motocross riders, and luckily I have friends in the action sports world. I had friends send me videos of those people saying, "Hey, Chris,
Oh, that's cool.
That's
like
great.
heard you." And one of the guys, Ken Roxon, he's a professional motocross rider. His brother-in-law actually suffered a spinal cord injury as well. And then this professional skateboarder, John Cardiel, he suffered a spinal cord injury as well, but he's back skateboarding.
Wow.
And
Really?
so,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
and so those two videos like fired me up so
Really?
much. I was still in the ICU, and I have a video of it of me watching the video, and I just started crying.
Oh, that's
Wow.
amazing.
And they're like, you know, man, this sucks, but like, keep your head high, like keep those positive thoughts. Don't let it drift out. And you know, then Cardiel, the skateboarder, was like just swear like, fuck man, like oh shit, man, like I'm so sorry this happened to you, brother, but you know you got this. And he was just like, he's telling me like, just like use your mind, like try and send those signals over and over again. Any little like fiber thing that's flickering, any little muscle twitch, just like keep sending those signals over and over and over again.
Wow.
Yeah, and so like that's what I needed to hear.
Cool.
I was like,
what's great is I mean, it says a lot about you because you had this support system because of the type of person you were before the injury. So you have this, like you said, you have the support system, and I'm sure too, if you're in that special facility, I'm sure there's a lot of people that had similar injuries, and I mean, I'm sure having them around too also was kind of motivating to get through it.
yeah, for sure. And yeah, I always feel like guilty of having such an amazing community sometimes, you know, because some people don't have that experience. But that's why I'm like, I found like this new purpose of like, I want to connect with people and help people and show them like there's hope, man. Like I love like going back to the hospital and, you know, people in the similar situation for me that fresh out, maybe they're a newly quadriplegic or even paras and stuff like that. It's cool to show them like running in there with a smile on my face and being like, dude, life's still awesome. Like it's gonna look a little different, but we still can get after doing the things that we love. And but yeah, I think going back to what helped me the most too is, I don't know, it's one of those things that you were saying, like just like screaming, getting it all out. Like I think one of the things that helped me is just taking those negative thoughts and just trying to rip them out of my mind and not focus on those. And I know, I feel like a lot of people are like, it's good to feel, it's good to like, you know, settle in those hard emotions, which I believe is true, but
it can spiral.
Like, I feel like it's good to feel, but also don't dwell in it. Like, don't just sit in those negative emotions. Like, you gotta rip them out. And sometimes I love to just like smile and laugh. Even when you're just going through some shit, you know, just like fake it until you make it almost, you know. And I don't think you should suppress your feelings, right? You should be vulnerable and let your emotions out, but also trying to focus on and be grateful for what you do have. I think perspective for me has been a huge thing, and every step of the way, just being grateful for where I'm at. And you know, although my big goal was trying to walk out of the hospital, if I didn't appreciate being able to feed myself or just like these little victories, I wouldn't see any progress. And it's hard to do now too because those first like 6 months when you're in the hospital, that's when you see like your most progress. It's this like steep linear thing. You're like, yeah, I was just in the hospital bed about to die, and now I'm like pushing around a wheelchair.
Pretty amazing.
This is great.
So you're appreciative. I mean, you're actually seeing progress at such a small amount of time that you're like, oh, this is, you're proud of yourself and you see hope.
Absolutely.
But then you get out and you're like, then it's not so linear. Then it's kind of more of a roller coaster. You're like, it's hard to see those victories as much especially when you're in it every day. You're like, am I getting stronger? Am I getting more independent? You know, so I love like looking back and reflecting, you know, either whether it's photos or videos, and being like, oh, you know what? Like a month ago, this was a lot harder. Or, you know, I am progressing. I did something new. You know, which was terrifying, right? Like I've been an adrenaline junkie my whole life. And
gosh,
right? Different.
Since the injury, it's like everything's terrifying.
Okay, so is it? So it's terrifying. So let's go to that. Like your new adrenaline junkie. What do you do? What are you doing that gets you excited? You get passionate about it? What is it?
I guess when I was living in Colorado, got injured. I was in Colorado for about 8 months and then moved to California, which is how I found San Diego as my new home. And I was immediately greeted with this community of like, hey, we surf like every month. And I'm like, what? Like every month? Like, sweet. And it was November.
Had you ever surfed before?
Able-bodied, yeah.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah, so I just went out to check it out, and then they threw me in the water, and I was very nervous. Like, anything after this injury, like just going from getting out of the house, going to a friend's house, going to a restaurant, it's scary. It's like, am I going to be able to, is it accessible? There going to be stairs.
Yeah.
Can I get in? Is the bathroom
The
accessible?
bathroom. Yeah. Yeah.
What happens if I don't have my medical supplies with me?
Yeah.
Everything became a lot more terrifying. Luckily, I was able to travel pretty quickly after my injury, and so I was able to just get out of my comfort zone. But I found out that if I didn't keep doing it, I would be scared to travel again.
Oh, right.
So like months would go by without traveling. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I have to get on the airplane now. Like, what if I've heard and seen so many horror stories of airlines just destroying chairs. And this isn't like a hospital chair, you know,
Really?
that they can just throw you in. We have special cushions that relieve pressure and that we can push around easily. Like those hospital chairs are meant for people to just push you around in.
They're not
like
long-term.
Do it
yeah.
alone.
Yeah, so if an airline messes up your chair, and this thing is like $10,000.
Expensive.
Right.
Yeah.
Anything adaptive, it's like if you think of, you know, the price of it, like add like 10 grand to it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like even just medical supplies to my bathroom chair,
Wow.
and it's just ridiculously expensive.
Like there should be donations and help for.
Well, there are, right?
For
I
that.
mean, you currently
I
work
mean-
with the group.
Yeah,
you?
there are some good or amazing foundations that support people with like different wheelchairs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there's like Facebook community groups
Sure.
too. But yeah, I
It's
work.
on top of already going
Yeah.
through the physical changes and the emotional changes, and now financially you're having to support yourself in all of that,
Right.
and not be able to support yourself financially because this has changed. I mean, that's
Well, yeah, because you were a coach before, right? I mean, that was
Right.
your, yeah.
Yeah,
that's a big
yeah, and so there are amazing organizations.
good.
One was High Fives that reached out to me right away, right when I was in ICU.
Oh, cool.
The founder called me and was like, "Yo, we got you."
Wow.
Yeah, and
It's called High Fives.
yeah, High Fives Foundation.
Awesome.
And
That's so cool.
Yeah, supplied me with grants for like a home remodel so I could access my
Oh,
house.
Wow. Wow.
Physical therapy,
Yeah.
adaptive sports equipment.
Wow.
Mm.
They just you know, they bring athletes on these trips to, you know, do all these sporting stuff like surfing and mountain biking.
Wow.
So yeah,
That's really cool.
yeah, he was one of the guys who was just like, "Yo, we're gonna get you back doing
That's
things that you
amazing.
love."
That's
I
Yeah.
love
great.
that.
So-
And especially coming from being a professional snowboarder to the high level coach, I mean, you love that feeling. So that's great to know that there's that support for you to do this. So as far as kind of your recovery, because I mean, you have an amazing outlook. I mean, some people could just, you know, kind of give up. You're continually, I've always seen you smile. You're always doing things. You're in a surf competition. You're doing all this. Like, how much of it do you credit for being a professional athlete? Because it's that push. You know how hard work is to get to where you're at to recover. Is that what drives you, or what's like driving you right now?
Yeah, I mean, especially with your jiu-jitsu background, I think you have a lot to say about how sports can help you so much mentally, right?
Right.
I think one thing is dealing with failure as an athlete helps you a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying tricks over and over and over
Right,
again.
that's true.
Just slamming
Yeah.
into the ground, getting back up, and being like, you know what? Just because I fell down, I'm going to learn from that,
Keep
and I'm going to
doing
get that
it.
much closer to getting my goal. So I think that really helps with that mindset of just not giving up and just knowing that it takes hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, and
Right.
even if it's something that you love doing, like your passion isn't always pleasant. It can kick you in the butt, and
Right.
you know, and like that goes with anything, like business, relationships. You know, it's not always easy, and for anyone that thinks that is, you know, it's wrong.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
I think sports definitely taught me a lot about that. Taught me a lot about community, and how much that's supported me in having a positive mindset and outlook. for
Okay,
sure.
but you didn't just go in. I mean, the ocean is a whole
Mhm.
different
Yeah.
ball game. I
Really?
was a lifeguard at the beach for years, and one of the guys on our department actually suffered a spinal cord injury diving in. And he would come down after, you know, through his healing process. He eventually would put a pole buoy in between his legs and strap up, you know, his legs, and he'd go on the longest
Wow.
distance swims. And I was sitting there like, geez, I'm not going on that swim. You know, I'm not going to go do that distance swim. But his just tenacity was incredible. So, and then I remember when the first like sand wheelchair, you know, we kind of
Right.
made this wheelchair so that we could get him down to the shoreline so he could just kind of go off and swim. But I cannot imagine being in the ocean, being in big surf, not having full use of my body. How was that the first time that you went out, and how did you conquer that fear? Because that is incredible to me.
Yeah.
That's a big
Well,
feat.
definitely terrifying for sure. Like you said, not being fully in control is one of the scariest things.
Yeah.
And that's something that's it's the most terrifying for sure. I've always been like, I want to be in control
Yeah.
no matter what I'm
Sure.
doing. So, but the first experience was amazing. There's so many volunteers in the water and
Yeah.
water safety people, which
That's-
was great.
that's cool.
So it definitely made me feel like okay. And I was a little worried, everything I do, I think I go in with the mindset of, okay, it's not going to look the same, right? It might not be the same,
Mhm.
but it can still be amazing. And
Mhm.
that first wave I caught, I was just so
Wow, yeah.
stoked. I was smiling
So
and just
awesome.
like right to the beach. And from then on out, I was hooked. And
Oh.
but it definitely there were some terrifying times.
Sure.
Probably the third time I went surfing. I was getting more comfortable. And instead of just catching the whitewater in, I caught like a nice. I went to the outside lineup and caught this amazing right peak. So I was going down along the beach,
Mhm.
far away from water safety and people like
Oh
that.
yeah.
And I fell off the board close to shore, and the wave flipped me upside down, so I was face down in the water.
Are you strapped? How are you on the board?
Yeah, are you
So
You're
I'm
strapped
laying
in a-
down. So there's a
piece?
bunch of different ways to do adaptive surfing, and at this event or at this organization, there's we have blind surfers. There's people with cerebral palsy.
Wow.
There's amputees.
Wow.
So there's people that are kneeling. Some people are standing.
Mhm.
And I'm prone division.
Okay.
So I'm laying down on the board on my
Okay.
elbows. And then I have someone pushing me into the waves.
So no strap of
No
any
strap.
kind.
strap.
Okay.
Well, there is like a strap that I wrap my arms under
Okay.
to hang on to.
But you can release.
Yeah,
Okay.
usually.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so I just kind of hook my wrists underneath it.
Okay.
And so that's kind of what allows me to
Wow.
kind of pull on it and initiate turns.
So awesome.
Yeah.
So awesome.
But yeah, until I was face down in the water and
You're
I
right.
didn't realize I couldn't roll over. So I had been in this situation before and I tried flipping over and I'm like, oh no, I can't. So I just had to like relax, go limp. And everyone's just sprinting towards me on the beach. My pusher that pushed me into the wave had to swim all the way in
Wow.
and get back to me. But it taught me a lot. I was like, all right, I gotta learn how to roll.
Yeah.
I jumped in a swimming pool and started doing like
Oh, really?
swimming
Oh,
lessons.
that's
and-
smart. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're just like, all right, I
How
gotta
much
figure
arm
this out.
movement do you have for that? So are you able to, there's no shoulder, I mean, are you?
Yeah, so I'm a pretty like functioning quadriplegic, so I don't have use of my fingers. My triceps are limited.
Mhm.
I have been able to get like a little bit of a flicker back in my triceps. My biceps are strong, so curling,
Okay.
that
Okay.
motion's really strong.
Yeah.
But I can't straighten my hand above my
Okay.
So you can't.
my head.
Okay.
So this motion, I can kind of push up like this.
Yeah.
If I go to a certain point, like backwards, it'll
Oh,
just
Falls.
fall.
just drop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah,
That's
but
so,
and then my chest is limited strength as well, and then from there down is pretty much
Right.
no function. But I've been able to kind of like figure out breath work to kind of
Sure.
the core
amazing.
and balance. We do a
Wow.
lot of balance therapy.
Amazing.
But yeah, so
That's
No,
amazing.
I
Well,
can
quickly,
figure
I mean,
it
you started that, and then you entered a competition pretty quickly, right? I mean,
yeah, so well, I mean, the U.S. Open of Adaptive Surfing is right up here in Oceanside.
right.
So right after I moved here, like the first year I was here, I went up and checked this event out, and I met so many amazing
Cool.
people, and I was like, I kind of want to do this one day.
Yeah.
But it was crazy because that first year there was some crazy swells, like
Oh.
4 to 6
Oh,
foot,
jeez.
and I'm
no.
like, okay, this is kind of gnarly.
No,
Like I was
yeah.
just stuck face down in the water,
Oh, my.
and I don't know if this is for me, but maybe one day. I definitely
Yeah.
had that aspiration, couple people I met in the tour were like, "Come on, you gotta compete, you gotta do it." And so then I waited another year, and then this past spring was my first competition in Hawaii.
Yeah,
You
I
ran
saw
in
that.
Hawaii?
In Hawaii,
That's
which
amazing.
is a good one to start off.
Yeah.
80-degree
Yeah,
water.
it's
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and the amazing thing about the competitions is there's so many people in the water. So as you catch the wave, you're passing people, these
Yeah.
water safety people. So you're like, oh, there's a checkpoint. There's
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
that'll
Yeah,
get to
so
me.
you're-
You know
Yeah.
mentally that if you were
That is
stuck,
okay.
that there were.
Yeah. So that kind of boosts the confidence
Right.
for sure. But yeah, I've been able to get back. I mean, not just surfing, but I've been able to get back on snow.
Oh,
So,
you have? I was going to ask you that.
Wow.
How'd
yeah,
that feel?
Yeah.
that was amazing
Oh,
too.
that's cool.
Definitely super emotional.
Mhm.
Not the same. I mean, it's one of those things where I'm not fully independent at it. So it's definitely a little frustrating. I love
Sure.
doing things on my own, but just getting back in the mountains and
That's
and
amazing.
just so many. I spent my entire childhood
Yeah.
Right.
in the mountains, and
Yeah.
as much as I love California,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people here, so it's hard to get away from people.
Yeah.
And I'm used to just like, hiking to the top of the mountain by myself or riding my snowmobile up there and just getting away. So it was just amazing getting back out there
Yeah, I bet.
and just kind of soaking in all those memories because I had the most amazing life too. Still have an amazing life, but just appreciating
Yeah.
what I do have,
Of course.
and what I did have.
What you did have.
Yeah. So,
They're chapters. It's like
For
you
sure.
can look at
Absolutely.
each chapter as such a different thing.
Yeah.
So moving forward then, what is your goal now from here?
goals now are definitely try and become independent at skiing.
Oh,
That
really?
would be
Okay.
super fun. Definitely have to kind of get after a little bit more. I've only done it twice. That would be really cool. Definitely public speaking is something that I've been trying to kick it into gear.
You're doing a great job, so.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's been fun and just sharing my story. I think, like we've been talking, being an athlete, there's so many things that correlate to any aspect of life.
Sure.
Whether it's different sports teams or businesses, anyone can relate to, trying to be resilient
Right.
and
And the
Absolutely.
positive
community,
thought. I mean,
positive
it's-
thoughts.
Yeah.
It just makes everybody think through their life.
Yeah.
I remember, is it his last name? It's Eric Weimaraner or something like that. I'm saying it wrong. But anyway, he woke up one day in high school and was blind. And he ended up climbing Mount Everest blind. He leads tours blind. Like, it was so inspiring to hear him overcome what seemed impossible to do. And I just think it's such an inspiration for people to see, look at him. He's doing it. He's doing it with happiness. He's doing it despite the everyday difficulties that come
Right.
up. You're still at it. And I think we're in a mindset now of this entitlement mindset or something where a lot of people are like, oh, it's hard, I'm giving up. Suicide's at an all-time high. And there's just so much sadness. And so when you see someone that's going through something difficult with joy, because I've always learned that joy, there's a difference between joy and happiness. Joy is being happy through the trial. That's what joy is. Joy is, can you be happy through the difficulties?
Yeah.
Happiness is, we can
Sure.
all be happy when it's
Yeah.
time to be happy, but can you have joy?
Yeah.
And that's what you just illuminate is joy.
Absolutely.
And it's not discounting that you, I'm sure, have days that are
Yeah.
feel unbearable.
Yeah.
But for everybody, we can look at someone else's difficulties and say, okay, I can do this too.
Yeah, it's inspiring. And like you said, right now, we're kind of in the area where, everyone tells you, get in your feelings, again, there's a place for that. But, I mean, you do it with a smile. Again, you have tough days, but like you said, when you have tough days, you smile, but it crosses all different boundaries. Someone that may be injured, they're having a tough time, you're inspiring. People that were a healthy body, and it's still inspiring to see that you do go through life again in trials with a smile. So
Yeah.
it's amazing.
And I think on that note too, like, it's easy for me to be vulnerable, I think, because I'm in a wheelchair and my disability is visible. But I've learned so much from just being vulnerable. Like when I was taking Uber rides a lot, and I would just share my story with my Uber driver, and he just ask questions, and then I would ask questions about his life.
Right.
like, oh man, you had to leave your family to come here to
Right.
you know, support them, and they would get out the car crying, give me a hug. It's
It's
just crazy
so
because
good,
like
Chris.
everyone is going through something, and
Mhm.
everyone's, you know, just because, you know, my disability is visual doesn't mean that everyone else isn't going
Yeah.
through something
Yeah.
Right.
just as hard or difficult
Yeah.
that might not be visible, you know, whether it's mentally or emotionally, physically, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, everyone has a story, and I think what really helps is just being vulnerable, trying to talk to people, and I think that's what has helped me build the community too, is just caring about other people's stories
Mm.
and
Right.
what people are passionate about. If you really want to build a community, just ask people, you know, what they enjoy doing or
Yeah.
what they're going through, and share a little bit about yourself, but also listen. And
Yeah.
I think that's helped me so much and meet so many amazing people. And yeah, I
Wow.
think that's kind
That's
of
awesome.
a big part of why I love connecting with people. It's just I'm always learning, and I learned so much about my emotions since after my injury. Like I've always been in tune, but everything's so like exponentially, like I'm so much more aware, I guess. You know,
Right.
especially after going through the relationship stuff, I'm very curious about
Mhm.
why we feel the way we do and what triggers what
It's
emotions.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah. I bet you, I mean, have you noticed that even just with your senses that things are heightened a bit? Like you're a little more tapped into feeling maybe a more of
More aware
someone's
of things. Yeah.
more empathy, or you're just more aware,
yeah.
probably.
I've definitely always been like an empathetic person, but I think sound has
Mm.
been
Oh.
definitely,
Heightened.
yeah, heightened for sure. If something like is loud, it'll like scare,
That
you know, scare,
interesting.
All
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like something with the nerves
Huh.
or what, but yeah, sound is definitely
That's interesting.
more triggering. Um, but yeah, I think just even being like the smallest thing will throw off my body pretty quick. So if I eat something wrong,
Mm.
then it'll, you know, make my morning routine not as enjoyable, and that'll kind of ruin my day sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's really, and just not being hydrated or not getting the amount of sleep. That comes
Right.
also with age too, right? Our
Sure.
bodies
Yeah.
can't rebound as fast.
Tell me about it.
So
Yeah.
I think this injury has definitely made me more aware of like, oh, I need to hydrate so I don't get UTIs,
Yeah.
or I need to eat food so my body and my stomach feel okay.
Mhm.
So I think it's definitely, or keep moving so my body doesn't seize up. It's crazy how
Mm.
I need to do stuff over and over again. If I'm not moving and I'm not eating right, I'm not sleeping, my body is definitely like, all right, well, we're not going to have a good day today.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so I think it's definitely brought
Be
a lot
more
of
aware of.
awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the thing too is, I think a lot of a lot of people go through life just taking things kind of for granted. They're like, I'll get to it. But again, you're proof. There might not be a tomorrow, or tomorrow might change. So, I mean, again, I love the fact that, again, you take every opportunity to meet somebody, get to know them, maybe help them, inspire people. And again, to me, that's inspiring. That's why ever since I've met you, we had coffee,
Yeah.
we talked. I mean, it's amazing that you're on our podcast. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thanks for
Yeah.
having me. No, I think it's really uh, cool to something that you do too is like you always try and have coffee
Mhm.
with someone new or someone
Right.
every day or whatever. I think that's so amazing, and I think for people just to get out of your comfort zone a little bit
Right.
is super important, especially when we're on like social media. It's just, I mean, it's the talk of the town, but I think it's crazy how we just get this satisfaction out of just scrolling,
Yeah.
right? And it's easy to just sit at home and scroll and just get this, like I'm guilty of it too. I'm just like, yep, I want like some chemical release. I want some
Mhm.
dopamine throughout my body,
Yeah.
some feel good. So you just start scrolling,
Yeah.
and sometimes you don't want to leave your house. But I feel like just getting out of your comfort zone a little bit. If you don't like talking to people, just say hello to one person
Right.
1 week, or just go for a walk throughout your neighborhood. Say hello to a neighbor. I've met so many amazing people in the 1 block radius around my house,
Oh,
just by
that's
like
awesome.
wheeling around and in the morning and just saying hello,
Right.
saying hi to their dogs. And all of these people are just so welcoming and so supportive that I wouldn't have realized if I didn't just say hello and talk to them. And it's funny because
Yes.
there's a big stair set down to the beach, and a couple blocks from my house, and I'll sit at the top and watch the sunset. And I love giving people crap, like they're walking up
Oh,
or
really?
some people will
Yeah.
show up and they'll just be like talking to each other, like, oh, do you want to go down to the beach? Like, oh, there's so many stairs. I'm like, come on, you got to do it for me. And I'll
that's
totally
great.
guilt trip them and stuff.
Yeah.
And then they'll come back up and they'll be like, oh, thank you so much for
Right.
getting us
So
down there and stuff. So it's
really
funny
cool.
giving people crap for
That's
like,
so
come on, you
good.
got to do it. You got to do it
That's
for me.
great.
Yeah,
So
but I've
true.
just met so many people by just being vulnerable and yeah, just saying hello.
Yeah.
Amazing what's been taken, but what you've also gained. It's almost this polarity of, yes, your body's not functioning the way or in the strength that it was, but your spirit's just so much stronger. I can imagine. And even
Yeah.
if you were, amazing person before, exponentially, I'm sure you've grown in spirit.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty neat to see that even with loss, there's gain in some form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great perspective to have, right? Everything's all about perspective, how you view things. And,
Yeah.
you can see, just from day one, I could have just been like, my life's over, this injury sucks. Or I could be like, you know what, this injury does suck, but what can I do? What can I look
Yeah.
forward to? What am I grateful for? Grateful
Right.
for living and breathing and
Yeah.
being able to get outside and getting back doing the things that I love. And
So can you not still coach?
I can, yeah.
You can?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, getting on snow is a little bit more difficult, like
Yeah.
not being independent
Yeah.
at that. But I do want to get into maybe some like virtual coaching.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
gonna say
right.
video. And
Yeah, I was a very
everything now.
technical coach. Growing up, I loved doing like video review and
Mhm.
goal setting and visualization.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Workouts and stuff.
Such a different
Right.
perspective coming into that for
Yeah.
somebody.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm still in contact with a bunch of my athletes and stuff.
Okay.
Well, they're all crushing it. A couple of them are making videos and stuff. A couple of them
Yeah.
are on the US team,
That's amazing.
which is
It's gotta be
awesome.
cool for you.
But yeah, so I really want to. I think that's one of my goals for this winter as well.
That's
Is
great.
maybe start like a virtual platform where I can,
Yeah.
whether just going over video review or
Yeah.
goal setting
Well,
stuff.
especially where technology is headed too. I mean, I'm sure more VR,
Yeah.
be able to do a lot of coaching that way too. You're an adrenaline junkie. What's the next challenge? What's your next big thing that you're going to do?
Oof,
Try a different sport, try a different activity. Is it?
Yeah, I don't know about different sport, but I think just progressing in surfing, maybe try and surf a wave that no other quadriplegic has
Oh.
surfed.
Really?
Um,
Wow.
You're gonna be your own
which
Eddie.
is terrifying.
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah, maybe you'll just get that shot on
Yeah.
Surfing Magazine. You'll be the
Wow.
Yeah.
Big wave
biggest
surfer.
wave
Mhm.
or a surfer.
Wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just progressing. That's the nice thing about sports is you can never be the best, right? Or like
Right.
perfect. There's always something you can do better,
Yeah.
and I love that progression. And I think I love that about competing is it always pushes you to be better, and
Right.
even if it's just for fun. If you're just competing for fun,
Sure.
you're still gonna be like, I want to do better, even though
Yeah.
I'm just here for fun. And that's what I told myself for the first two contests, but then I put the bib
No,
on, and
it's
I'm like,
in you.
okay, I
Yeah.
kind of want to win
Right,
too.
there it
This is
is.
for fun, but I also want to win.
Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure.
Right.
It's the athlete. in you.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
So, well, that's the thing. Even in competitions, whether it's jujitsu or other competitions I've done, it was never really. When I won gold, it wasn't like I was like, I did it. I never really had that satisfaction. It was like I always looked at myself like, I could have did better though. Still, so I mean,
Mhm.
it's that athlete in you that I feel like keeps pushing you, towards doing different things. So yeah, that's great. We should get out in the surf. Let's try it.
Yeah.
It's cold.
Yeah,
It is
We
cold.
We'll have a group
dropped.
outing.
Our temperature
Oh,
dropped a bit.
Yeah, I just had to put an
Gosh.
extra layer of wetsuit on.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not fun. I do enjoy seeing everybody down at the pier, though. Is that where they're always doing it? I mean, is it a once?
Oh, yeah,
you
what
said
beach?
once a
Beach
month
do we go?
that
Yeah,
they
Oceanside.
get together.
Here. Oh, the once a month is at the harbor in Oceanside.
Oh, is it?
No, it is.
And I mean, San Diego is so insane. There's actually a few different adaptive organizations. I think there's one that goes out every Wednesday in Del Mar.
Really?
Too. I haven't been to that
Oh,
one.
that's cool.
There's a CAF Foundation, which CAF Challenged Athletes Foundation is an organization from San Diego as well, based out here, but they're kind of nationwide as well. But they do
Okay.
events. Jesse Blauer, a guy who was injured surfing, he has his Life Rolls
Life
On
Rolls On. I went to an event
foundation.
for Life Rolls On. Yeah.
So he does like some fishing charters.
Right.
He does
cool.
surfing up in LA, down here.
Yeah.
Stoked for Life is another one.
Mhm.
Charles Webb, he throws an event. He's gonna do one in I think it's 2 weeks or a week and a half,
Mhm.
up in Oceanside. But the Waves for All one, that's the first organization that I got connected with, and it's the last Sunday of the month.
Oh, wow.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
the support.
Yeah.
I think it's so great. People's optimism for life, still living and
Mhm.
charging and challenging themselves, you know.
Yeah.
And there's a you get this boost of this high frequency when you're out in nature anyway. That's why we love it, right? You go in the ocean, you come out smiling, you're just like, yes, the rest of the day is good. So I love it. It's best medicine, right?
It is.
To do that.
It's definitely like more like the hard thing is more challenging to get out there
Yeah.
and do it. So it takes a community, right? Like, I think it's hard to get a wetsuit on able
Oh,
body.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah,
what do you
that's
do?
true.
I have like 4
Oh
people
my
just wrangling me,
gosh.
like tossing.
Wow.
My
It's
legs are up in the air, and
Yeah.
it's takes some,
That's
which has
really
kind of like prevented me in the past from doing it. Actually, like I'm like, oh, I gotta like, head up people to try and get this
Yeah,
wetsuit on.
right.
I need to push her, catch her, water safety. But
Yeah.
I've met like I've had old friends that help me, and I've met so
Cool.
many amazing new friends that are
That's
so down to
great.
get me in the water,
I love
and
it. That's
it's
awesome.
just so appreciative, and my heart is just so full afterwards. After that, like having these people just take time out of their day just to like get you in the
Right.
water, and it's
Yeah.
just so much love
Yeah.
for that.
That's
It's
amazing.
crazy, and I just have sometimes I'm like I question whether I want to get in the water. If it's a cloudy day, I'm like I don't know, but then when I do and I get out,
Right.
there's just no better feeling.
No, that's
It's-
why they say stoke. It's
Yeah,
a
stoked.
thing.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
exactly. You probably sleep great that night. Like,
Yeah.
"Ah, that was a great day. Wow.
And it's just like a burst of energy afterwards too. It's just like that
Yeah.
after adrenaline rush is just
It's
like
cool.
living. It's just like
Wow.
that's something I miss.
So cool.
Yeah.
That's
So
great.
speaking, coaching, anything else that you want to start and do for business?
I think that's on the docket for now. I think long term, maybe like a nonprofit in the future would be fun.
Yeah.
Something I think since I've been focusing a lot on positive mindset and kind of neuroscience stuff, I think dealing with kind of like a mental awareness, mental health
Sure.
kind of nonprofit
Yeah.
for like spinal cord injuries or adaptive world.
Yeah.
Do like some like wellness retreats or something.
Oh, yeah.
I think that'd
Yeah.
be pretty
That'd be
fun.
way
That'd be
cool.
great.
Yeah.
Well, even
Yeah.
corporate events. I mean, again, your story's inspiring. Your mindset's inspiring. I think it'll affect a lot of people. So in a
Yeah.
positive way.
Hey, even better. Now there's so many corporate retreats.
Yeah.
You just go as the speaker to their corporate retreat.
There we go.
Yeah.
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 Sign me up.
Yes,
Yeah.
that would be good.
Yeah.
And you get the benefit of all these other
Mhm.
fully living life in other areas. So you think you'll stay in San Diego?
That's the goal. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna try and be here as long as I can.
Yeah.
It's not cheap to be here, but
No.
I have an amazing support group that's a family that's helping me out
Good.
be here and stuff. So yeah, I'm grateful for
That's awesome.
these people in my life that are like, at one point after I got the divorce and stuff like that, I was like, all right, I'm gonna go live in Vermont. But I had a family be like, you know what? No, you're gonna stay here, and
Wow.
yeah, and I'm just so grateful for
That's amazing.
them, and
That is great.
yeah. for
But
sure.
again, I feel like that's a reflection of the
Yeah,
type of
that's
person
you.
you are, that they're willing to
Yeah.
do this because, I mean, again, you're an amazing person.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
thank you.
So good to
Yeah.
hear your story. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Oh,
Thank
of
you for,
course.
yeah, absolutely.
Truly,
You've
it's
definitely
inspiring.
blessed us. It's inspiring. You've inspired both of us.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
thanks for having me. I'm so
Yeah.
blessed to have met you guys, and I'm grateful for the community that you guys are building
Mhm.
here and everything that you guys are doing. It's just so supportive of everyone. It's amazing to see, you know, and I think that's so important.
Yeah.
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 Well, you said it, you know, it's the connections and your heart grows the more you get out and speak to people about their story.
Yeah.
That's the uniting factor of community. And you said it perfectly. You just need to kind of get off your phone and start talking to people.
Mhm.
Find out what's the story is. That's the heart of the matter.
The heart of the matter.
Why are people doing what they're doing?
Yes.
Heart of the
What's
matter.
really the heart
What's
behind
your why?
it?
All
Mhm.
right.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank
So
you,
good.
Chris.
And thanks
You
for
guys.
tuning in. Make sure you like and
Subscribe. And if you want to sponsor or you want to be on the podcast, contact us, thegroupcoastal.com or the group SD on Instagram.
We also meet every Friday morning for free at the market space if you want to come and join our little family there and share your story and your business ideas. We would
And
love
meet
to hear them.
more amazing people.
Yep.
Like Chris.
All right.
Thanks
for
so much.
tuning in.
Take care. Yeah. All right.